As we have previously established, some states use presidential preference primaries to select delegates from their respective states to the party's national nominating conventions. Other states use a caucus system to select delegates, and there are a handful of states that use some combination of presidential preference primaries and caucuses to select delegates. Now let's see how a caucus system works. We begin as we did with our explanation of presidential preference primaries, by acknowledging that each state is allotted a certain number of delegates to the party's national nominating convention. Again, here we see the number of delegates from each state to the 2004 Democratic National Convention. In states that hold caucuses, voters turn out to usually a local precinct convention and publicly announce their support for their preferred presidential candidate. Here we see in a hypothetical example that some voters have turned out to this local precinct convention to support Massachusetts Senator John Kerry, others to support North Carolina Senator John Edwards, some to support General Wesley Clark, and some for former Vermont Governor Howard Dean, and finally others for former Illinois Senator Carol Moseley Braun. At some point in the evening's deliberations, the chair of the precinct convention will ask voters to physically relocate somewhere in the room with other voters who support the same candidate, to caucus, or to select delegates to attend the next level of the caucusing process. Again, the Democratic Party has a rule that requires a candidate to receive at least 15% of the caucus vote in order to be awarded any pledged delegates from that precinct. So, in our hypothetical example, voters who showed up in support of Carol Moseley Braun, for example, or General Wesley Clark, may have to re-caucus with voters who are caucusing for one of the other candidates who did surpass the 15% threshold. For example, Senator John Kerry or former Governor Howard Dean. At the precinct convention, they caucus to select delegates to attend a second round of caucusing, which is usually a county convention or a congressional district convention, or perhaps in some states a state senatorial district convention. And essentially the same process occurs at this level, where supporters of candidates caucus to select delegates to attend the next round of the caucusing process, which is generally a state convention. And as you might presume, of course, at the state convention, they caucus to select delegates to the national convention. As we established in our discussion of the primary process, once at the national convention, the delegates cast their votes to officially nominate the party's presidential candidate. When one of the candidates receives a majority of the delegates' votes in a roll call of the state delegations, the party's nominee for president is officially determined.